We analyze the body language, the gotcha questions, and the tactics that win unwinnable cases. Welcome to Canal Narration. The courtroom gavel strikes wood, the sound sharp and final. Every eye is drawn to the small, stooped figure standing before the bench. This is not a hardened criminal. This is a 96-year-old woman. The contrast is a sudden, silent interruption of the day's proceedings. The air conditioning hums, a cold, indifferent sound. Mrs. Coella's thin cardigan offers little warmth against the chill of the formal room. She squints against the bright, official lights overhead. Her surroundings are polished wood and serious faces, a world she does not belong in. The prosecutor shuffles his papers, momentarily distracted by the defendant's age. Judge Caprio adjusts the microphone, his movements slow and deliberate. He looks down at the summons, then peers over his glasses at the woman. A murmur ripples through the back of the gallery. 96 years old and standing before a judge. The why hangs in the air, a thick unspoken question. The judge's brow furrows as he reads the details of the citation. He looks from the paper to the woman and back again. This is not a look of anger, but of deep, profound confusion. He knows the law, but the file in front of him defies simple logic. A psychological trigger is pulled. The audience must know what he is reading. He sighs, a quiet sound, amplified by the microphone. "Ma'am, your name is Coella," he asks, his voice gentle. She nods, her hands trembling on the wooden rail. This single, visible tremor builds a powerful, immediate empathy. The judge already senses the story is deeper than the citation. The camera focuses on her hands, the skin like paper over bone. Decades of life are written in those hands. Hands that have cooked and cleaned and cared for others. Now they are gripped in fear in a cold, impersonal courtroom. This simple image creates a powerful curiosity gap. What brought her here? In the gallery, her son watches, his face a mask of worry. He grips his own knees, his knuckles white. He looks sicker than she does, a detail that sharpens the mystery. His anxiety is a mirror of her vulnerability. He makes no sound, but his presence screams that there is more to this. The judge continues to study the file, stalling for a moment. He is calculating the factors, not all of them legal. The courtroom is a place of rules, but he is a man of wisdom. He sees a life lived, not just a defendant. This is the moment the audience connects with the judge, not just the woman. Mrs. Coella's posture is one of profound exhaustion. She has been standing for several minutes, her slight frame visibly wavering. A bailiff instinctively moves a step closer, ready to catch her. This small action highlights her extreme frailty. The tension is not about guilt, but about her simple ability to endure this. The judge notices the bailiff's movement. He nods slightly, a silent signal of acknowledgement. "Ma'am, you can be seated if you need to," he offers, but she shakes her head, a tiny, stubborn motion. She will stand as is required, even if it drains her. The prosecutor is finally prompted to read the charge. His voice is loud and flat, a stark contrast to the judge's voice. Citation number 904B, a violation in a school zone. The words sound absurd when directed at her. The defendant was clocked driving 30 miles per hour in a 20-mile-per-hour zone. A school zone violation. The charge is so mundane, so petty. It makes her presence here even more baffling. The audience is forced to ask, why would she be speeding? The paradox of her age and her offense is the heart of the conflict. Judge Caprio looks at her with a patient expression. "Mrs. Coella, the charge is speeding in a school zone." He lets the words settle, giving her time to process them. "The officer states you were going 10 miles over the limit. How do you plead to this?" She leans forward, trying to speak into the microphone she can barely reach. I was, she says, her voice a thin rasp. She pleads guilty, without hesitation. There is no argument, no defense offered. This lack of a fight only deepens the tension. A guilty plea should be the end of the story. The prosecutor looks ready to suggest the standard fine. The law is clear, the violation admitted. But Judge Caprio does not move on. He holds up a hand, silencing the prosecutor before he can speak. The judge leans forward, his expression now of gentle inquiry. Mrs. Coella, I have to ask you. The entire courtroom stills. This is the moment the routine case break pattern. You are 96 years old. He pauses, letting the fact of her age fill the room. You don't look like a fast driver. A small, pained expression crosses her face. I don't drive fast, Your Honor. I try to be very careful. So why this day? The judge asks. The question is soft, but it lands with the force of an accusation. Why were you speeding? In a school zone of all places. Her son, in the gallery, winces, as if the question physically hurt him. This is the moment of piqued curiosity, the ultimate story hook. Mrs. Coella's eyes fill with tears. They don't fall, but they make her vision swim. She looks down at her trembling hands on the rail. She is not just embarrassed, she is reliving a moment of panic. The promise of the story is about to be fulfilled. She takes a shaky breath, gathering her strength. Your Honor, she begins, her voice cracking, I don't drive much anymore, only when I have to. The judge waits, his gaze unwavering and compassionate. I was taking my son to the doctor. The words, taking my son to the doctor, shift the entire mood of the courtroom. This is no longer about a traffic violation. It is about a mother's duty. Judge Caprio's gaze softens, moving from the woman to the man in the gallery. He now sees the connection he had missed. Your son? The judge asks, his voice now even quieter. Mrs. Coella nods, her eyes fixed on her son. My boy, she whispers, a word that sounds strange for a man in his 60s. He's sick, Your Honor, very sick. The son lowers his head, his shoulders shaking slightly. The judge leans back, a profound sadness entering his eyes. How old is your son, ma'am? He's 63, she replies, her voice catching. The math is stark. A 96-year-old woman caring for her 63-year-old child. The social norm of children caring for parents is inverted, triggering a deep psychological response. And what is his sickness? Judge Caprio asks, his tone respectful. This is not a legal question. It is a human one. He is no longer a judge in this moment. He is a man bearing witness. The prosecutor remains standing, but his notebook is closed. The law has become irrelevant. Mrs. Coella struggles for the words. She has the cancer, Your Honor. She says the word as if it is a curse, a physical weight. It's in his blood. He has to go for treatment, for the blood work. Her hands twist together, the knuckles white. He has an appointment every 2 weeks, she continues. I'm the only one he has left. This statement lands with devastating force. I'm all he has to take him. The courtroom is now perfectly silent. The camera turns to the son. His plaid shirt hangs on a frame that is skeletal. His skin has a gray, weary pallor. His eyes, when he finally looks up, are hollowed out by pain and fear. He is visibly a man in the last stages of a terrible fight. He is not looking at the judge. He's looking at his mother, his expression one of anguish. He is not worried about his own sickness in this moment. He is worried about the trouble his mother is in. This selfless fear is more powerful than any plea of innocence. The judge sees it all. He sees her frailty. He sees the son's mortal illness. He understands the terror that must have filled her on that drive. A 96-year-old panicking, trying to get her dying son to his appointment. "You were rushing to get him to that appointment," the judge states. "It is not a question, it is an acknowledgement." I don't see so good," she admits, the tears finally coming. "I get confused. I was just trying to get him there." This is the internal conflict. Her love for her son, her maternal duty, is in direct conflict with her failing body. She broke the law not out of malice, but out of a desperate protective love. This is a moral dilemma that resonates with everyone in the room. Who would not speed for their child? The tension in the room is no longer legal, it is emotional. The audience is holding its breath, waiting for the judge's response. A fine seems cruel. A warning seems insufficient for the gravity of the moment. This is a test of wisdom, not of law. The judge looks down at the citation in his hands. The piece of paper seems flimsy, almost insulting. It represents a system that is blind to the human stories behind the violations. He slowly, deliberately, rips the paper in half. The sound is quiet, but it echoes in the silent room. "Mrs. Quella," he says, his voice thick with emotion, "you are a good woman. This is the validation she did not know she needed. You are what we all hope to be." Her son begins to weep openly, his face in his hands. The judge is not just dismissing a ticket, he is honoring a life of sacrifice. "You are 96 years old, and you are still taking care of your children." He shakes his head, as if in disbelief. "That is a beautiful thing." This is the climax of the emotional tension. The judge has seen the truth behind the violation. He has internalized her burden as his own. He understands that her actions, while technically illegal, were morally necessary. This is the fulfillment of the promise. He looks at the son, who is being comforted by a woman in the row behind him. The community, the background characters, are now activated. They are no longer passive observers. They are participants in this moment of shared humanity. An older man in the back row wipes his eyes. The judge's eyes are also wet. This is the reason that will make you cry. It is not just the son's illness. It is the judge's compassionate recognition of a lifetime of love. He sees her fully and completely. "This case is dismissed," he says, his voice firm. But he isn't finished. He gestures to the prosecutor and the bailiff. "But we are not done here." A new curiosity gap opens. What more can he do? He looks at the son, his expression changing from sad to resolute. "Sir, you have a mother who loves you very, very much." The judge then looks back at his court staff. "I want everyone to reach into their pockets. We are going to make sure this woman and her son are taken care of." There is a beat of stunned silence. The judge's request is completely outside of normal procedure. The bailiff, a large man with a stern face, is the first to move. He doesn't hesitate, reaching straight for his back pocket. His wallet, thick and worn, is in his hand. The prosecutor, who seconds ago was ready to demand a fine, looks at the judge. He sees the absolute sincerity in Judge Caprio's eyes. He nods, a short, clipped motion, and pulls out a $20 bill. The court reporter stops typing, her hands frozen over the keys. She fumbles in her purse, her eyes welling with tears. Mrs. Coella is lost. She does not understand this turn of events. She heard "case dismissed," but now people are moving. She looks at the bailiff, then at the judge, her eyes wide with confusion. This display is more baffling to her than the legal charge was. Her son, however, understands perfectly. He lifts his head, his face wet, and sees the prosecutor hand money to the bailiff. He sees the court staff digging into their pockets. He tries to speak, but only a choked sob escapes. This kindness is more overwhelming than his illness. "Mama," the son says, his voice rough. She turns, her focus shifting from the judge to her child. They are helping us," he manages to say. She looks at him, uncomprehending. "Helping? Why?" The bailiff begins to move, but Judge Caprio stops him. "This isn't about us, Lou," the judge says, his voice quiet but firm. "This is about her. He is protecting her dignity, ensuring this is not charity, but respect. The judge is transforming the court's power from punitive to restorative." The dramatic escalation begins in the gallery. A man in the back row, a total stranger, stands up. He walks to the aisle and holds out a $10 bill. He doesn't walk to the front, he waits for the bailiff. His action gives permission to everyone else. Another woman gets up, then a young man in a suit. The courtroom, a place of division and judgment, transforms. It becomes a circle of support. People are no longer defendants and observers, they are a community. The rustling of cash is the only sound. Mrs. Coella watches this, her hand going to her mouth. She sees strangers offering money for her. She believes she is in trouble for this, that she has caused a disturbance. "Oh no," she whispers, "please no." She thinks she has broken another rule. She turns back to the judge, terrified. "Your Honor, please, I didn't ask for this. I don't want any trouble." Her words are a heartbreaking testament to her humble life. This is the climactic transformation of the moment. Judge Caprio stands up. He unfastens the front of his black robe. In a move that stuns the entire court, he steps down from the bench. He walks on the same floor as the defendant, no longer elevated. He approaches the defendant's rail, leaving his authority behind. He is now just a man, an Italian-American son from the same neighborhood. He walks right up to Mrs. Coella. He gently, respectfully takes her trembling hands in his. "This isn't trouble, dear," he says, his voice just for her. The bailiff approaches and quietly hands the collected cash to the judge. It is a thick, disorganized wad of bills, 5s, 10s, 20s, and 1s. It is the spontaneous offering of everyday people. The judge never lets go of her hands. "This," he says, pressing the money into her palm. "This is from all of us." She looks at the cash, her mind unable to process it. "This is because we respect you," he continues. "This is because you are what is good in this world." She starts to cry, but this time it is not from fear. It is a release of 96 years of burden. She tries to pull her hands away, to refuse. "I cannot," she whispers. "I cannot." "You can," he says firmly, closing her fingers over the money. He looks at her son. "And you, sir," the judge calls out. "You let this woman take care of you, and you take care of her." The son nods, unable to speak, his gratitude absolute. The judge has passed a sentence, not on the woman, but on the courtroom itself. The verdict is compassion. The judgment is humanity. The entire room has been transformed by one woman's simple, desperate act of love. Judge Caprio pats her hand one last time. He turns and walks back to the bench. He slowly climbs the steps and sits down. He fastens his robe, the symbol of his office. The transformation is complete. He is the judge again, but everything has changed. "Ma'am," he says, his voice back in the microphone, but full of warmth. "Your case is dismissed. God bless you, and God bless your son. Please drive safely." That last part is said with a small, sad smile. The bailiff gently takes Mrs. Coella by the elbow. She is dazed, holding the money in her fist. She turns and walks, not like a defendant, but like a guest of honor. Her son rushes to meet her at the gate. He puts his arm around her, and for the first time, he is supporting her. The heavy wooden doors of the courtroom swing shut behind them. The sound is a dull, final thud. They are suddenly alone in the wide marble hallway. The echoes of the courtroom, the judge's voice, the son's sobs, seem to hang in the air. Mrs. Coella's shoulders are still hunched, as if expecting another blow. Her son guides her, his hand firmly on her elbow. He is supporting her, a reversal of their usual roles. She is holding the wad of cash so tightly her knuckles are white. The money feels foreign, a heavy weight she doesn't understand. It is the physical proof of the kindness she just received. The light in the hallway is softer, warmer than the courtroom's fluorescent glare. Sunlight streams through a tall window at the end of the hall. It illuminates the dust motes dancing in the air. For the first time in an hour, Mrs. Coella takes a full, deep breath. The scent of floor wax and old wood replaces the stale air of the court. Her son stops for a moment, letting her rest against the wall. He looks at her, his eyes still red, but a new light in them. He sees his mother not just as a caregiver, but as the strong woman who just faced a judge. He is overwhelmed with a mix of shame for her trouble and fierce pride. He gently squeezes her arm, a wordless thank you. They are just 10 feet from the main exit doors. Freedom is right there, the end of the ordeal. A woman who is sitting on a wooden bench suddenly stands. She moves quickly, blocking their path. She is not in a uniform, and she holds a small notebook. Mrs. Coella flinches, a small, terrified movement. Her body tenses, and she looks up at her son in panic. Is this more trouble? Is she going to be arrested for the money? The son instinctively steps half a foot in front of her, shielding her. "Ma'am, Mrs. Coella?" the woman asks. Her voice is polite, but it carries the quick cadence of a professional. My name's Sarah Jensen. I'm a reporter for the local paper." She gestures with her pen toward the courtroom doors. I was in there. I saw what happened." This is the surprise, the unexpected climax. The private moment of compassion is about to become public. The son's face darkens. He sees his mother's fear, and his first instinct is to protect her privacy. "She has nothing to say," he says, his voice low and hostile. He tries to steer his mother around the reporter. "Please, we just want to go home." But the reporter is quick and steps in their path again. She is not aggressive, but she is determined. This is a new kind of confrontation. "Please," the reporter says, and her voice is surprisingly gentle. She is looking past the son, directly at Mrs. Coella. She is not being accused, she is being seen. "The judge," the reporter starts, "what he did. But you, what you do every day." She gestures to the son. "That's the real story, isn't it?" The question hangs in the hallway. This is the moment of climactic transformation outside the judge's control. The son stops trying to leave. He looks at his mother, who is just watching the reporter. He realizes this is not an attack. It is an opportunity for acknowledgement. He straightens up, as much as his illness will allow. His voice is weak, but it carries in the quiet hall. "Do you want to know the story?" The reporter fumbles for her notebook, nodding. "The story is my mother. She is 96 years old," he says, his voice gaining strength. "She is legally blind in one eye. Her hands shake. And she has not missed one of my chemotherapy appointments. Not one. In 3 years. She gets me dressed, she makes my food, she drives me here, and she waits for 4 hours in that hard chair. Then she drives me home. She is terrified of these roads, of these big cars, but she does it. She does it because I am her son. He is crying now, but not from pain or fear. It is from a love so deep it hurts. Mrs. Coella reaches out and puts her hand on her son's arm. She is not the one being comforted. She is comforting him. It's okay, my boy. It's okay. Mama's here. The reporter is silent, her pen frozen over the page. She has her story. She has witnessed the truth. She nods slowly, her own eyes full. Thank you, she whispers. The reporter steps aside, clearing the path to the exit. She doesn't ask another question. The son takes his mother's arm. They walk past the reporter, through the shafts of sunlight, and push open the glass doors to the outside world. They leave the courthouse not as a defendant and her sick son, but as a testament to a mother's love. The sun lights the small, clean kitchen. It is a world away from the cold, polished wood of the courtroom. On the simple formica table sits a copy of the Providence Journal. The headline is bold: A Mother's Love, a Judge's Wisdom. Beside it is a photograph of her, frail and small, leaving the courthouse. Mrs. Coella sits at the table, her hands wrapped around a warm mug. She cannot read the small words, but she understands the picture. She looks at her own face, a stranger on the front page. It is the first time she has seen herself as the world now sees her. She feels a strange mix of humility and profound exhaustion. Her son is asleep in the next room. The house is quiet, the ticking of a wall clock the only sound. This is the peace she has always known. But something has changed. The silence feels different, less heavy, less alone. There is a sharp, sudden knock on the front door. Mrs. Coella's body goes rigid. Her first instinct, learned over 96 years, is fear. A knock at the door so early means trouble, or bad news. She looks from the door to her son's room, her hands beginning to tremble. She shuffles to the door, her heart pounding. She peers through the small peephole. It is not an officer. It is a young woman she vaguely recognizes from the local market. The woman is holding 2 large paper bags overflowing with groceries. Mrs. Coella opens the door a crack. The woman smiles, her face bright. Mrs. Coella, I read the paper, the woman stammered. I just wanted to bring you this from my family. She sets the bags down, nods respectfully, and walks away before Mrs. Coella can refuse. She stands in the doorway staring at the bags. Inside, she sees fresh bread, milk, eggs, and a small roast. She has not seen a roast in years. She touches the soft bread, her fingers shaking. This is not charity. It feels like an offering. Her son calls out from his room. He is awake. She brings the newspaper to him, her hands still unsteady. He props himself up on his pillows, his face thin, but his eyes clear. He reads the part about his own words in the hallway. She has not missed one of my chemotherapy appointments. He stops, his throat tight. He lowers the paper and looks at his mother. They heard me, Mama. They finally heard you. In that moment, he sees her, not as his frail caregiver, not as an old woman. He sees the giant who has been carrying him. His respect for her is a tangible thing in the room. This, more than the groceries, is the true gift. The telephone on the wall rings, its sound loud and shrill. Again she flinches. It is another intrusion, another fear. Her son nods for her to answer it. She lifts the receiver. Hello? A kind, professional voice speaks on the other end. It is a woman from a local private car service. Mrs. Coella, my name is Maria. I'm calling to confirm your son's next appointment. A private donor has arranged transportation for all of his future visits. Mrs. Coella's knees buckle. She grips the wall for support. What? What did you say? Your car will be there at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, ma'am, the voice repeats. You don't have to drive. You don't have to do anything. We will take care of you. The receiver slides from her hand. It dangles by its cord, the voice still speaking. Mrs. Coella leans against the wall and covers her face. 96 years of strength finally break. She weeps. Not in fear or sadness or pain, but in relief. The terror of the school zone, the panic of the drive, it is over. The single greatest burden of her life has been lifted. She will never have to choose between the law and her son's life again. She has her son's hand to hold and nothing else to fear. This is the true meaning of the judge's verdict. Far away in the courthouse, Judge Caprio sips his morning coffee. He is reading the same article. He sees the picture of Mrs. Coella. A rare, private smile touches his lips. He turns the page to the next case. In the local diner, the newspaper is passed from table to table. People are not just talking about the judge. They are talking about the old woman. They are talking about her son. They feel a sense of pride in their city. The story has become a local legend, a reminder that compassion is not a weakness. It is a force stronger than the law. It is a ripple that started with one judge and one mother, and it has touched everyone. Back in the small house, the crying has stopped. Mrs. Coella is sitting on the edge of her son's bed. She is holding his hand. He is reading the paper again, but this time he is smiling. The room is full of morning sunlight. She is not a defendant. She is not a violator. She is not the subject of a viral story. She is a mother. And her son is safe. That is the only resolution that ever mattered. The afternoon light is fading, turning the dust motes in Judge Caprio's chambers to gold. Piles of manila folders sit on his desk, a testament to the endless stream of human struggle. Each file represents a new case, a new story, a new judgment. The courtroom outside is empty and silent. This is the quiet hour, where the weight of the day settles. Judge Caprio rubs his temples, his glasses off, his eyes closed. He is not a young man, and the day was long. He dealt with theft, assault, and endless city violations. The machinery of the law is heavy. It is easy to forget the faces behind the docket numbers. His clerk enters quietly, placing one last piece of mail on his desk. It is not in a business envelope. It is a small, personal-looking card addressed by a shaky hand. "This came for you, Judge, by mail." The clerk leaves, closing the door softly. He puts his glasses back on and picks up the envelope. There is no return address. He opens it, not with a letter opener, but with his finger. Inside is a simple thank you card, the kind from a drugstore. A single folded piece of paper falls out. He unfolds the paper. The handwriting is large, labored, and difficult to read. It is not from Mrs. Coella. It is from her son. He recognizes the name instantly. The letter begins, "Your Honor, Judge Caprio. I am writing this because my mother cannot. She wanted me to tell you what you did. You saved her." The judge stops reading, his breath catching. He continues, his eyes scanning the shaky lines. "Not from the ticket. You saved her from the fear. For 3 years I watched the fear eat her alive. The fear of driving. The fear of failing me. She is 96, and she was carrying the whole world for me. We got the car service. They are kind. When she sits in the back, she holds my hand. She doesn't have to grip the steering wheel. She just holds my hand. I haven't seen her this calm in years." The son's letter is a confession. It is a burden shared. "My fight isn't over. I am still sick. But my mother can finally be a mother, and not just a driver. You didn't just dismiss a ticket, Your Honor. You gave her back her last days. He reads the last line. God bless you. You are a good man, like she said. You are a good man. The words echo what the judge himself had told Mrs. Coella. The circle is complete. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair. He does not smile. His expression is one of profound, heavy reflection. He holds the piece of paper in his hands, feeling its weight. It is heavier than any legal brief. This is the true resolution. It is not the dismissal. It is not the money or the car. It is the restoration of dignity. It is the lifting of a burden that was never meant to be carried. This is the motivational conclusion. The system is blind, but the people in it do not have to be. One act of seeing, of listening, can change a life. Wisdom is not about knowing the law. It is about knowing when the law is not enough. The judge does not put the letter in a file. He does not throw it away. He opens the top drawer of his ancient wooden desk. He places the letter inside, next to a few other small items. A faded photo, an old coin, and now this letter. He has passed judgment on thousands of people. He has been praised and he has been cursed. But this one letter, from a dying man about his elderly mother, this is the case that will define his legacy. This is the story he will remember. He looks out the window at the setting sun. The city is full of people rushing home. They are all carrying their own burdens. They are all, in their own way, just trying to get someone to an appointment. They are all just trying to take care of their children. The image of Mrs. Coella's son, resting his head on his mother's shoulder in the back of a car, is a powerful one. She is no longer looking at the road in terror. She is looking at him. This is the ultimate fulfillment. The moral transgression, speeding, was in fact an act of profound moral love. The judge's final act is to turn off his desk lamp. The room is cast in shadow. His work for the day is done, but the work of compassion is never over. He has given one family peace. This story is not about guilt or innocence. It is about the debate between law and justice. It is about the community's response to a moment of truth. It is an affirmation that in a cold, hard world, kindness is the highest form of wisdom. The camera focuses on the empty, dark courtroom. It is just a room of wood and stone. But for one day, it was a place of grace. The echo of a 96-year-old woman's quiet voice is now a permanent part of its history. The inspiration is clear. Judge less and see more.